Alright guys, how's it going this evening, or this afternoon I guess? It's actually a sunny day. Yeah, very sunny. Not a damn cloud in sight. These are the kind of days I like. So, very little wind. Maybe tickling 5 miles an hour, kind of just, it varies. That's the gust anyway. Yeah, so I had some leftover coolant because I had gotten like 4 gallons of the shit for the little Farmall, and then if there was going to be anything left, I was going to throw it in the grain truck. I think I'm going to regret that decision because the freaking rad has a small leak in it. So, but you never notice it when it's got just straight water, but when you put coolant in it, it shows up everywhere. I don't know, but it could be because I pushed the truck pretty hard today. So things might be getting hotter than they really should, and then opening up, and then maybe they'll seal back up with time. Because that's what it was doing with the water too. It was, even when I was running water, as it got hotter, yes, it would leak, but then if you let it cool down, and then it would get re-hot again from running it again, then it wouldn't leak. So everything is kind of, I guess like shifting and trying to close back up. But there is a hairline crack there. So that could have just been could just be from age. I'll keep an eye on it. Coolant's expensive, antifreeze, and I want to keep coolant in it because I feel like it would do a better job of keeping the truck cool than just straight water, but I don't think it really matters. But I like antifreeze obviously because it won't freeze. That's why I decided to put some in the little Farmall, because I've heard horror stories of those engine blocks freezing and then actually cracking out if they're full of water and they freeze. But I mean, I drain the water out, but I mean, what if you leave a little bit in there, like a tiny little bit, and it freezes and it's enough to push on something, Now, the grain truck has been sitting empty the last couple of winters. I've always drained the water out of it. But then, the thing is, then it stopped leaking the water. Like, it didn't leak a drop of water this year. Because, mind you, I didn't drive it a whole hell of a lot this year either. But, it got hot enough, I think, that it wasn't going to, if it was going to leak, it was going to leak, but it never did. So I figured, maybe the leak stopped. Maybe I can put some coolant in it and it'll be good to go. Well, not really. It's a very small drip. So I think if it doesn't close up within, if it does leak down, it's not going to drain the whole thing because it's actually at the very top of the rad. So if it does, it's only going to drain maybe an ounce of coolant, if that. So it's probably nothing to really be concerned about, even for the winter. But if it dries up enough here the next day or two, I'm going to see if my uncle still has some JB Weld, and I'll just throw some JB Weld on it, and that'll fix that problem. Then I don't have to worry about it ever leaking again until the whole thing just decides to explode. So, because I don't really want to get a new rad, because there's really nothing wrong with this one. It just has some minor leaks that I'm still trying to figure out, and I found one. Because I knew that was there because it was there before, but I put water in it, like I said, and then it never leaked. Now I put freaking coolant in it, and now it leaks. So, I don't know. I'll keep an eye on it. We're going to have about probably 2 to 4 more days of this nice weather. And then it's going to supposedly start raining and snowing. I want to get done chopping leaves. I'm just so close to being done. I can see it. So, but, we're not really getting the winds either to help pull those leaves off, which is fine. I'm not going to complain, but we're getting enough wind, though. I think it is pulling them down a little bit at a time, but if I can get the mower deck off tomorrow, then I'll be okay. Then I'll be I'll be a little bit ahead of schedule. I won't be too terribly behind, but yeah, I just wanted to be done. I want to be done chopping leaves because I know that freezing hell's coming, and I want to, I don't want to be caught with my pants down, so to speak, So I'd rather be done. It looks like they're doing some burn over there. That explains why I seen so much smoke yesterday. But yeah, I took the grain truck for a little spin because I put coolant in it, antifreeze, and I wanted it to actually circulate throughout the engine block. So usually we just do a 50-50 mix, 50% water and 50% coolant, and that's good enough for it. But these last 2 bottles I made, I don't know, they just seemed a little off. It wasn't quite, I don't get it. I don't know, but I don't think they'll freeze regardless. It shouldn't freeze, I hope not, but I don't know. So I'd have to hate to put a whole new engine or another used engine in it. That would be a nightmare. So there was a person down here earlier, but I don't see him now. There must be like a hole here. They must have left. Well, looks like the water has come up a tiny bit since that storm we got. We did get a storm a few days ago. More than a few days ago, and it gave us almost an inch of rain. So, quite a bit. So, but yeah, so the grain truck there, well, it bled all the frickin' hydraulic oil out of it. So I can't raise the bed at full height. I can't even go halfway, a quarter of the way maybe. I don't know. It's not much. It's enough to get in there and pour more hydraulic oil in there if you had to. So I blocked it up so it can't go down. So if it does decide to bleed more hydraulic oil out, yeah. So, because I'm not going to put more hydraulic oil in it this year. There's no sense. It'll just bleed it all out. So, but I think it's that damn valve, the on and off valve, or that's where it's all soaking wet. So I think it's probably got an O-ring or something out, and they're probably a nightmare to replace. So, but given that we're not going to be using the bed too much, if at all, for the next couple of years, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just leave it blocked up like that. That's just so in case it decides to leak more hydraulic oil, at least then I could raise the bed up or keep the bed up, without it getting too low. But I think it's been low. Well, when it's been sitting for a lot of years, and then I tried it, and it went up just enough that you could get back under there again. So I don't think it would bleed all the hydraulic oil out. I think it just depends if you keep using it. Eventually, it probably would slowly bleed more of it out, and then you wouldn't be able to get it as high. So then you'd be freaking forced to lift it with a loader tractor or something, try to lift it enough to get in there. So I might as well cheat now and throw a couple of boards under there to keep it up high enough. So whenever we do decide to use it someday, then we can just throw in a gallon or 2 of hydraulic oil, and then there you go. So, but yeah, it looks like that's going to be an issue if we don't get that valve fixed. It'll just keep leaking, and then you're going to have to keep adding hydraulic oil to it. So often. It looks like it's a pretty small leak, but it's enough that, after a year or so, it's going to be a nuisance. But anyways, I wanted to drive the grain truck around because obviously I put antifreeze in it, and I wanted to you know, circulate throughout the engine, and I wanted the truck to also push out any extra if I had overfilled it, because I usually overfill everything and then whatever. But yeah, I did overfill it, and it did push some of it out, which is all right, because then the truck knows its level. It knows what it wants. So I can read a book, I guess, or something, but fuck it, let the truck do it. So that's what I did there. It pushed out a little bit, and then of course it started leaking there in the corner on the opposite side. So how much more it'll bleed down, I don't know. If it dries out enough, I guess I should have left the sun's not going to get to it anyway, but if it dries up enough by tomorrow, I'll talk to my uncle and see if maybe he can put some JB Weld on it, and then I can just do its thing, and then we'll test it maybe next year or something. So, but yeah, I've been driving down here in the field because this is literally the only flat field that I can go, because I can't take it on the highway because it's not street legal. So I was kind of driving down in here like almost like a racetrack, you know, because that truck hasn't ever really gone above, 5 miles an hour. So down here I got it up to about 20. So it's still not very fast, but yeah, fourth gear is a kind of a funny gear. It's there, but it's a funny gear. That's definitely a road gear. Whereas first gear is definitely like a low gear. Like you're just crawling around. And then second and third are kind of, a little bit higher end gears. But fourth gear is definitely a road gear, because I tried the first time it wouldn't go in the fourth. Fourth gear feels funny on the stick. It's not like the rest of the gears where if you go like in the first, second, or whatever, there's quite a distance to travel on the stick before it goes in the gear. But when you go in the fourth gear, it's like in. Compared to the other gears, it's, like way down here before you're into the gear. So I don't know why fourth gear is like that. It's such a short, travel distance that you have to go compared to the rest. So, but I tried it for the first time here because the truck was up to enough speed that I think fourth gear could have taken over and gotten through. But when I went into fourth, which I at first it didn't really feel like it. So I thought I was in, I let off the clutch, nothing really happened. So I figured, okay, maybe it's not in gear, or maybe fourth gear's out, it's not working. And then, by then I lost too much speed, so fourth gear never would have done nothing because I've lost so much speed and power. So I had to kind of start all over again, get back up to speed. And then when it finally went into fourth, I let off the clutch. Still nothing really, it just didn't, there was no load there. So then I just mashed on the throttle. Well, then the truck took off, so I figured, okay, well, fourth gear is kind of like an iffy gear. And then, so I started mashing on it, and then the truck started going under a load because obviously fourth gear, and then you're driving in grass, there's going to be a lot of like friction here, it's not smooth like a highway. So I'm bashing on the throttle. I got it wide open, trying to get up to whatever gear it'll get up to. Of course, it wouldn't even get halfway up to speed because there was just too much like friction here, because the grass. It's not like being on concrete. So, but it was trying. So fourth gear is there, but it's definitely, it's a gear that I'm not familiar with because to me, it just kind of feels like fourth gear, again, it should be way down, not just like a little bit and that's it. Compared to the rest of the gears, you got to go half a mile to even get it in gear. So, to get it to slip into that gear. So fourth gear is there, but it's definitely a wonky gear. I don't know, but it's there. I almost kind of thought that maybe it wasn't engaging right. But I don't know what would be causing it to not engage right, and then, everything was under a load. It just, I don't know. It's because if it wasn't engaging right, you think you'd be hearing a bunch of grinding, and then, you think that, well, the clutch went in and out like it should have, so it's obviously not a clutch issue, but I think it's just the fact that fourth gear is such a high gear that when you're trying to do it on grass, it's just like the truck was being overloaded and it just didn't really have the power to get going. It was trying, but it only got about halfway. Now, it also could be because maybe the transmission's a little bit low in oil, too. Maybe there's not enough oil there for that gear, but you think it would be the same across the board, then it wouldn't matter what gear you're in. If you're low on oil, you're low on oil. So, again, I don't know. But, of course, I had to run out of runway before fourth gear would even technically even get anywhere. At the time I got about halfway, fourth gear was only about half speed, and then it's like, well, I'm running out of runway because I can't really go down. Like, once you get past this pole, you can't go really much further because it's way too rough. You just destroy your truck trying to drive through it. So I kind of had to come around the corner and then try to get fourth gear to, go from here, because I can go from there up to that fence line with no problems, because there's no big bumps here or nothing. So I'm bashing on it and trying to get it to go, and it's going, but it's just not getting up to speed like it should. But I think that's because there's too much friction here, or whatever you want to call it. It's too much for the truck in grass, But I had to know if fourth gear was even there. For a while I thought, maybe there is no fourth gear. Maybe it's out, So if you're only going in third gear, I think third gear is about 20, 25 mile an hour. So it's not a very good gear. I don't know. I don't know what that damn truck's top speed would be, even in fourth gear, because obviously I'm never going to know, because it's going to be so long before if it ever gets put on the highway again. It's going to be a long time, but I mean, they have a gauge in there, I think, that says like top speed would be like, 95 mile an hour, but you damn well know that ain't it. I mean, maybe 65, maybe 55 if you're lucky, but sure in the hell ain't. For the way it's geared, I don't think it would ever get that fast. Maybe 55, maybe 60, but that's about it. For how it's geared, I think that's how it is. So, but the old timer's, his bale hauler his is geared different than ours, obviously, because it's a little bit newer, and he's got the 2-speed rear end in it, and it's, got a bigger transmission, so it's probably geared a little bit different, but his was kind of the same way, too. It's like you went into fourth, it took so long to get up to whatever speed that you're trying to get up to. Because I remember, because when the old timer drives it, he doesn't redline it, he doesn't beat on, stuff. So, but I know that one time the young guy drove it, and he was going across the bridge, and I think he had that thing maxed out for speed. He was just booking it across the bridge. So whatever that speed was, I don't know, but it was more than 55 mile an hour. So, but I don't think the grain truck could get above 55, to be honest with you. I think that's about maxed out gears. But I'll never know, because obviously I'm not going to be driving it on the highway for quite a while. So it's definitely a interesting thing, though. I don't know, but there's no good place to really drive that truck. I mean, this is probably the best field that we have to be doing any kind of, speed tests. So, and I know that Reese 6 said that we ought to take the the 1586 and then the little Farm LA and do a race with them to see which one is faster. I still think that the Farm LA would be faster, even though it's considered a smaller tractor. Because, well, I drove that thing on the road a little bit. I didn't go very far though, because I didn't want to. But I was going through all the gears, and I was only in third at the time. I was like, well, this is pretty good for third gear. I was like, well, I got one more fucking gear yet. So I slipped the son of a bitch in the fourth gear, and I'm scared for my life because this thing is going faster than the 1586 I think would go. So it would be interesting to put the things side by side and just to see who would win in a race. But you'd have to do that on a highway somewhere, because down here it wouldn't work right, because those higher end gears are road gears. They're not field gears. So if you tried it down here, you'd just be running into the same problem that I'm running with the grain truck. Fourth gear would be working overtime just trying to get caught up. So where you could do it, I don't know, because you can't really do it in town because it's obviously a main street and, you know, it's pretty busy. So we don't really have a racetrack anywhere around here that's just strictly concrete. But it would be nice if we had some kind of a racetrack around here that was just concrete, or even a old runway or something, you know, you could do it there. There is an airport over there, but it's active, it's not abandoned or anything. So I don't really know where we could do any of these actual testings, because that would be interesting to do. Run the tractor side by side. Now I know that my 1586 is at least probably about the same, maybe a little bit faster than the 400, because my uncle's got 4 gears in that thing as well. And well, I got 3 gears and he's got 4, so he's got 1 more gear than me. But we were hauling trees that one day and he took off before I even took off. So he was already halfway back to the farm, and I'm coming down the road, and I got this thing, you know, all the gears. I got it pinned wide open, trying to catch up to him, and the time he got up to the blue house, you know, next to our place, well, he was at the blue house, and I was just coming down onto the gravel road at the time. So then I pin it wide open. I'm just booking her at this point, and the time he gets even past their driveway, I'm already caught up to him, and it didn't take much time at all to get caught up to him. So I don't know, maybe these tractors are geared a little bit differently, but I was able to catch up with him in my tractor when he was on the 400. But you think I would lose because I'm a 3-speed and he's a 4-speed. But given that I was able to catch up to him like that, probably tells me I probably would win in a race. I don't know, but I would like to compare it to the Farm LA, because the Farm LA is such a smaller tractor. So it would be an interesting thing to see who would win in a race, you know, me or him. So, but that'll probably never happen because we don't have really any good places to do it. So, I mean, you'd have to risk it, I guess, on a main street somewhere and try to get your timing right to where there's no cars coming. But that's kind of hard to do because it's, you know, you got 2 main streets and they got cars coming on them all the time. So, but you can't do it on a gravel road because it would still be the same thing as driving in grass. There would still be some, you know, friction there, and it would be hard to roll over that. So it's got to be on concrete or asphalt or something, you know, something really smooth, so you could just get up and go. So I don't know, but it'd be an interesting thing, I guess, to see what the hell had happened. But I doubt we'll ever get to do it. So, but I don't know. I think I'd be scared to drive that little Farmall in 4th gear. Just, you know, it just gets up and goes. There's nothing's going to stop it if it's doing that. So, but I mean, that's good, I guess, if you're doing a lot of road travel. But I know that my uncle says that when he drives it, even this last time here when he drove it, and then back in the day, he was always using second gear. The second gear was still pretty strong, that it could do what what he was doing, pulling loads and stuff. But yet it was still, a good ground speed. You could still get going. So, see, I really can't do that in the 1586 because, one, I'm too skinny, and two, I'm too top heavy. So anytime I hit bumps and stuff, the tractor's rocking so much. So that's why I can only crawl myself across these damn fields and that. Now, if I had a dual on, or if I was set it up a lot wider, then I could probably go a little faster. But since the way it's set it up, it's not really an option to go screaming across these fields. The little tractor, you could, because again, you're so low to the ground. You don't have, you don't have a cab. I'm still skinny, but because that's how the tractor set it up. But it's not as sketchy because you're so much lower to the ground. So, but then the 400, well, of course, the 400 is a little bit wider because it just has to be for the loader. So, it's fairly wide. So again, there you're not, and no cab. So, you don't have to, you're not top heavy. So there's really nothing to worry about. But I don't know. I don't know. The young guy thinks I ought to try to find that valve again. Try to find a new one, or slightly used one, or whatever. And try to use, the air cylinder for raising and lowering. He said you can find hydraulic stuff to throw on there, and that would work as well. But, those things are so expensive. But where to find that valve, that diverter valve for the exhaust, I have no clue. And you'd have to find one in decent shape so you could throw it on and just go use it. And then I got to buy a new manifold, which will be probably a next year thing, or in winter, sometime this winter. I haven't really decided yet when I'm going to do it because I got other things that I'm doing. So right now that's not priority. I'm pretty much done with that stuff for the year. So I'm thinking our alien went down here. This is where I'm thinking where he walked. If he walked across my field, he went this way down in here. So there's a big ditch there. So yeah, and I did check my cameras. I got 2 cameras up now because I got my other one, a few days ago, and I put that up. That was to actually replace the one that's defective, but I ended up putting it up anyway in a different place. Well, I checked it a couple days ago, and there was another guy walking out in my woods, and but it wasn't an alien, but he was taking pictures. So I'm thinking it was the Border Patrol guy because he was wondering where my cameras were at. So, but I don't know. That was kind of an interesting thing to see because he wasn't dressed up in his uniform. So, but yet it was at 10 o'clock in the morning. So, I don't know. But it's kind of strange. But I didn't think nothing really of it, I guess, too much. I was kind of wondering about it, but I guess it just is what it is. So, but yeah. So that's what's going on. So, yeah. But I figured I might as well, drive it hard. Before it actually physically sits for the winter, and then you can't drive it again until spring. So, didn't drive it all that much this year. Too much other stuff was going on, and working on the little tractor too. So, I kind of already want to maybe try to get the old blue pickup back up and running again, but I know that's going to probably be a son of a bitch, and we don't really have a use for it. And it kind of needs to sit there anyway because it needs to act as a gate. But we need to get more wire and stuff first before we can do anything else. But I don't know. I don't really need any more projects as of right now. I got enough to deal with. I got 2 machines that are going to cost me thousands of dollars to repair and get fixed. So, but we actually kind of do have a use for them. But the old blue pickup, she's pretty wore out, and there's probably no saving it. But kind of would be nice just to maybe dick around with it, you know. I don't know, maybe you can put it back on the road and just use it as kind of like another bale hauler. That was kind of nice back in the day when we had both pickups, the blue pickup and the white pickup, because we got the white pickup to retire the blue one. But I think they drove it that way. They drove both of them, I think, for a couple of years after that. And when they had to get hay from the young guy, or at that time it was probably the old timer, we would drive both pickups. So then we were hauling 2 bales, and now we're down to just hauling 1 bale at a time, which is kind of annoying. So, but that grain truck needs so much work. It needs a lot of work. I mean, I'm not even talking about the bed. The bed's a whole different freaking story. I gotta get the brakes figured out because I need brakes. I need to get the lights fixed. I gotta get new turn signals. I gotta get the switch for the turn signals. I gotta figure all that out. You know, just a lot of little things that need to get fixed on this truck before you can even think about putting it on the road. So, and then a little farm all, well, I probably could cut a little bit of hay with it next year, next summer, despite the way it is. Kind of just to maybe test everything, see how it's going to work. But I don't know, because I think that, you know, where you attach the sickle bar to, I think it's already lowered. It's already all the way down. So I think if you just unfold the damn thing, it'll be right on the ground then. So, but I don't know. It's going to have to be, it'll be an interesting thing, but it would be nice if we could haul bales with that grain truck, because then we could haul 2 at one time. And if we have to get like 4 or 8 bales, well, just think of how much time you saved in just one day compared to just hauling 1 bale at a time. And, you know, yeah, so, but I don't know, I think that hydraulic thing would have to get fixed, I think, first, so we're not losing hydraulic oil every time we're using it. So, but I never used it at all. I used it once this summer, just to, you know, I do it once a year at least to stretch everything, but, and it went up perfectly fine and came back down on its own. But now when I tested it, it didn't even go halfway. So, and I had left the rod attached. I have a metal rod that I have attached to that because the cable broke. So you have to reach underneath the truck to turn that valve on and off. So I had left it on there all summer long because I figured I'd probably tinker with it every now and then. Well, then when I came back to it a couple of months later, the whole damn thing was slimy. So I was like, so it is leaking hydraulic oil, and it's leaking down on the ground, and it's running all along my rod and whatever else. So, but I didn't think nothing of it. I just took my rod off and just went and drove it around a little bit. But now I went to test it, and it only went a couple of feet, and that was it. Just enough that you can get your head under there and add more hydraulic oil to the tank. So it is leaking hydraulic oil, but unfortunately I don't know who would fix that kind of a valve, given that it's so fucking old, and I don't know anybody around here that even works on old crap. The young guy might have a guy or something, but other than that, I don't know. But I don't know. It's a future problem. I'm not going to worry about it now. I got other things I want to take care of, and move on with and get done. And then after that, we can, you know, do a little bit here and there. So I think, depending on how things go, I think the things I would like to get done for next year, on the Farmall A, I would like to get a new manifold put on it and maybe try to find that valve. And then for the grain truck, I kind of would like to get the brakes to work, but I need a new master cylinder because this one's junk. So that's the only reason why I can't build brake pressure. So brakes pedal just go straight to the floor. So I got to get a new one of those, and they're like $260 online. And then maybe from there I could probably get brakes, because we need brakes. Because it is hard to stop that truck, especially when you're trying to, you know, adjust it. When you're trying to put it back into its parking lot and you're trying to adjust it a little bit, trying to get it more to my liking. Sometimes I have to roll back forward again to readjust. And then, well, the truck will just keep rolling forward because there's no brakes. But rolling backwards is not a big deal because the truck has a dip in the ground now where it's sat all winter. And if I get my timing right, I clutch in, let the truck roll, and the truck will roll into that hole, and then the truck will just stay in the hole then. So that's why I keep parking it back in the holes, because then that's my brake. That's what will stop it. So, but that, and then, well, I got to get that other cable put on too, so I can have my hydraulics fully back for the truck, so I can raise and lower it even from the cab. But I haven't done that yet this year. So, but I don't know, I'm trying to get other things done, and it's just too much, not enough of that green stuff, you know. So, but that's the goals for next year anyway. Hopefully to get the brakes working on the truck, and then get a new manifold put on the little Farmall, and then try to find that valve if I'm lucky enough to try to find one. So that's, I guess, really don't, well, I wouldn't mind getting new tires for the grain truck too, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. So I don't know, time will tell, I guess, to what we can get done. So kind of just that's just how it's going to be, I guess. So, but anyways, guys, I guess I'm going to take off. I'm going to go home and do some stuff and get something to eat, I guess. I don't even know what time it is, and whatever else. So, but yeah, this field can kind of come in handy when you want a racetrack, but because I don't have one. So the one over in North Dakota side, that's not ideal for trucks. That's for dirt bikes, so I can't go there. I kind of wish they would put one somewhere around here for trucks, like, you know, made out of concrete. Because once I get the brakes working on my truck, I'd probably go down there and just hammer down on her, see what top speed would be. Of course, you would find out just going across the bridge too, but need brakes and turn signals. So, because I can get a temporary sticker put on the window for that to make it temporarily street legal. So, and I think you can just keep buying them too as you need them. So, but yeah, coming in here and going around the pole, and I was booking her. Had her in fourth gear, but fourth gear was definitely only about half speed because it just, I think because of the grass, there's too much friction here for it, too much of a load. So probably wouldn't like it if you had two bales on it and you're going down the highway with it. I still don't think it would probably do it. I think you'd be stuck. Well, you probably could be in fourth gear, but you're only going to get half the speed out of it. So it might just be I think if you stick in third, well, then you're only going about 20, 25 miles an hour, and that's all I need is to get freaking rear-ended by somebody because they're too fucking stupid to realize there's a slow-moving truck here. So, but I don't know. It's a very interesting thing, but it's also nice and enjoyable to drive them old things. You know, they're not 100% yet, but it's nice to drive them around, kind of get a feel for what the great-grandparents did, you know, or what they went through back in the olden days. So, you know, not really physically using it for anything. You can pretend, I guess. Driving out in the field there, you can just pretend you're going and loading up bales, you know, just put it in your mind, I guess. There you go. So, or hauling a load of wheat from the field, you know, this is where they used to harvest all their wheat and stuff from. So, that's what I miss doing. I miss growing grain. I wonder if the young guys got any fields that we can do a little bit on, you know. So, because we need hay more than anything else, but growing grain would be kind of nice. I think I just mostly do wheat and oats. I guess you would do whatever the market calls for, but those are my favorite crops anyway, wheat and oats. So, I don't know. Yeah, we even used to, I guess Roosty 60, I don't think you know anything about it, but if you go back a few years on my videos, you'll see us working up this field. I got videos going back to 2015, I think, or 2016. I had the 1586. We were chisel plowing this field. And then the following year, we cultivated with my tractor. Of course, that's when we had that slight problem with it. Of course, we fixed that long ago. And then, yeah. So there are a few videos out here of us, you know, doing stuff out here. Because there was stuff long before that. Of course, that was long before I was even on YouTube. So, missed out on a lot of good stuff. So, the last crop that I think that the old timer put in, it never did anything. It was all just weeds. And then, yeah, then I think the young guy, or the old timer, quit doing it. And then the young guy did it for a couple of years. And then after that, we decided to put hay in it because we needed more hay. So, because we're not getting very many bales off this, but if we would have put an alfalfa in, we would have gotten way more. But he didn't want to put it in here, so because it's a flood field and he doesn't think it would last. So probably not. But if it lasts for a few years, that's good enough, I guess. So, but I don't know. But it would be nice to grow some crops again or something, you know, just for fun. So I don't know. But anyway, guys, I guess I'm going to take off. So I guess have a good day and stuff. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Take her easy.